to Only a Podcast. Two blokes upside down and many miles from home talk about popular culture and unpopular culture too. Books, music, films, the news, what we had for dinner last night, everything is fair game. We've no idea what we're doing or why, but we're going to do it.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 21 of Only a Podcast. Say hello, Captain.
Hello, Captain.
How you doing, you alright?
Yeah. Stop raining. It's a miracle.
Hey, it stopped raining, yeah. Hosepipe ban.
Keep going on about the weather. Well, there will be. There is in England.
Yeah, I know there is. Well, I'm one step ahead of them. I've stocked up. I've been out and bought about 8 hosepipes.
Yeah, you've got to be ready.
When the band comes in, yeah. So I'm panic buying hosepipes.
Panic buying. Excellent.
Yeah. What's the word on the street?
The word on the street. We've had a major input from the community out there this time, because we've been rattling on about film soundtracks, the greatest film soundtracks of all time, and we've had some good input from everyone out there. So I'd like to say thanks first, and then we'll go through a few of them, notable ones. So Craig Mully, Yesterday's Jam, our good friend Katie, our good friend Hemi over there in Scotland, Joe Boutel, Richard Lyons, Cherny VLK, Steve 2099, Davosaurus is back again, and my good friend Merrick, who runs the Toppermost website, has been on there too. So and
there was one on Facebook, folks, as well. I know you don't really look at the Facebook side, but we did. My good buddy Mike Harmon, he gave us Blues Brothers. I don't know how I missed that one. But, Blues Brothers, of course, is one of the greats. So cheers, Mike.
Yeah. I'm going to comment on a few of them, I think. I'm going to say right away that anyone who mentioned a Tarantino film has got to be in with a shout, because they're pretty good compilations, and Tarantino has obviously spent many hours nerding out on music to fill his films with interesting stuff. So I think that goes without saying, even though I've said it. But going through a few of the suggestions, Katie up first, I think. She mentions that in Marie Antoinette, the Sofia Coppola film, the bit where she becomes queen and they all walk out to Plain Song by The Cure is the best use of that song, she says.
Okay.
Also great soundtrack, Sofia Coppola, for Lost in Translation, which is pretty cool. It's one of my personal favourites. Craig Mully goes into American Graffiti. He mentions one. That's a pretty good rock and roll compilation, as I remember. One or two more. Rock and Roller from Yesterday's Jam. That's a bit sort of that's a bit Baby Driver-ish, I think, what you were mentioning last time around.
Yep.
Joe Boutel is obviously a Queen fan. Because he mentions Flash Gordon and the Highlander. Cool, yeah. Music written for films, I think, was a distinction we were making last time. Music written for the film, more than just a compilation of tracks that you found.
And I think the theme tune to Flash Gordon by Queen must be one of the campest pieces of music ever made. It's one of the campest films ever made, I think, actually, when you look back on it now.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Campus Christmas, great stuff.
Yeah. Richard Lyons mentions The Man with the Golden Arm, Frank Sinatra acting as a jazzman with a drug habit. Out of Sight, which we mentioned a while ago, Elmore Leonard film, worth watching. Journey VLK mentioned Singles, and I had to look that one up, and that was pretty cool too. Steve 2099.
Was that like a 90s one, was it? Singles?
Yeah.
Kind of grungy Pearl Jam sort of thing, was it? Yeah.
Steve 2099 mentioned Zabriskie Point, which is an old sort of atmospheric, let's say, film from the 70s. I suggested to him that the soundtrack album may actually be slightly more interesting than what goes on in the film, because it is quite slow stuff. But worth a listen. Got Pink Floyd on it. Davisaurus mentioned one which I completely forgot about, which is a New Zealand one, which is stuffed full of flying nun tracks. Topless women talk about their lives is the name of that. And it's kind of a pretty much flying nun best of round about that time. And Merrick, from Toppermost, mentions Easy Rider because he's an old hippie. Those are his words. Yeah. And yes, but why not?
Yeah.
So that's just some. What have I got? What did I think about? I mentioned Southern Comfort by Ry Kudo, which is atmospheric slide guitar.
And Paris, Texas as well, of course.
Written for that. Yeah. Some great stuff. And I also like the soundtrack to Repo Man, which is chock full of American punk bands. Alex Cox film. Worth watching too. Yeah. What else? There's loads. There's loads, folks. The Harder They Come. One from the Heart. That's probably my favourite of all time, I have to say. Tom Waits and Crystal Gale singing that one. Quite an unlikely pairing, you think, until you hear it. Yeah. Lots of examples. Big list.
This is all good stuff. Yeah, we have got a big list. Yeah, keep them coming.
Yeah,
folks. This is really good. I notice there's no Elvis films mentioned on any of these.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
It's got some of them are terrible.
Yeah. What's clear to me looking at this list is I don't know as much about movie soundtracks as a lot of other people do. But as you know, I've never really been much of a movie buff anyway. So mine are all pretty easy, pretty simple stuff, Yeah. High Fidelity, Jackie Brown. I added The Commitments as well to that list.
Yeah.
That was a good album at the time. I don't know if it still stands up these days, but yeah. Yeah.
Right, maybe an album of the originals.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a worthwhile exercise there to gather the community together.
It was, and keep them coming, folks.
About something, keep contributing. That said, here's our next topic. The second last track on an album. Is it the weakest one? Contentious. In fact, we did have doubts about who actually asked that question initially.
Yeah, well, I read it or heard it somewhere a few weeks ago as being quoting Robert Forster from the Go-Betweens. I can't find any reference to him having actually said that. I might see if I can reach out to him on socials and see if he did actually say that. It doesn't matter anyway, because it's a good thing to talk about. So the second last track on every album is the weakest track. Well, we've done a bit of deep diving there, haven't we?
I
haven't listened to I've done a bit. I haven't listened to every album because there's quite a lot of albums.
Yeah.
So I haven't listened to all of them. But what I thought I'd do is I'll do the Beatles. So I went from the golden era. So I went from Rubber Soul onwards. So I'll just run through them. So the second last track on Rubber Soul, If I Needed Someone.
Oh.
Right, we'll make this a quiz. So do you think I think it's the worst track on the album? Okay. If I Needed Someone, do I think that's the worst track on Rubber Soul?
You don't think it's the worst?
That one I do.
Do you?
Or the weakest, I should say. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the weakest track. But there's not a lot of crap on Rubber Soul or Revolver or any of these records. Well, maybe White Album there's a bit, but Revolver was a tough one. So the second last track is Got to Get You Into My Life. So again, there's not really any fat on Revolver. So did I think that was the worst track on Revolver?
I'd say no again.
I did not think that was the worst track on Revolver. I thought the worst track, and again, this is, just because I had to choose one. Love You Too was the one I chose, the kind of sitar-based job. Yeah. I just, that, you could lose that one as a B-side. Sgt. Pepper. Now, this is a tricky one. Yeah, it is. Because you've got the reprise. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band reprise.
Yep.
I have chosen that as being in my opinion, the weakest track on the album.
Yeah.
Just because you could lose it and you wouldn't miss it, would you?
But the thought I had about that one is that what comes after it, A Day in the Life comes after it.
Yeah.
So maybe you kind of need to just take it down a notch before you whack everyone with one of the all-time classic endings of an album.
Given it has a kind of flavour of concept album about it as well, doesn't it, Sgt. Pepper, more so than. But I took these as just standalone tracks, not in the context of the record, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, okay, White Album, Revolution number 9.
I know that Billy Dodds, Brompton Will, on the old socials was mentioning this too.
Yeah. Did I think that was the worst track? What do you reckon?
No. I'm going to go no again.
No, because I think it's it has some importance in the history of music, really, that track. So that it couldn't be. So what did I think was the worst track on the White Album? Because there are a couple of stinkers on there.
Wouldn't be one of the sort of jolly Macca ones, would it be? He said.
No, it's a George one. It's a George one, actually.
Mm.
It's Piggies.
Yeah,
that's
kind of see where you're coming from there.
Yeah, you could lose that one, and it's not very vegan either, is it? But yeah. Anyway, pressing on. So Abbey Road. So the second last track is The End. Did I think that was the worst track? Strangely, the second last track. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Oh, no way. No, there's no way. No, that can't be the worst track, can it? Not when you've got Octopus's Garden and Her Majesty. I mean, yeah, you could throw Her Majesty away, I think. It's
barely a track.
No, Paul McCartney just was noodling around. But, yeah, exactly. So I couldn't choose Octopus's Garden or Her Majesty, but I think I've just chosen Her Majesty for me. And finally, Let It Be. So the second last track is For You Blue. Did I think
another George one?
That was the weakest track?
That's pretty close to it.
Yeah. But I didn't. I went with Maggie May. Because it's a cover version, basically.
And just filling in a bit of space.
It's just a bit of mucking around in the studio, wasn't it? As we've seen. We've seen it with our eyes. Yes. It was just a bit of mucking around in the studio. So I went with Maggie May. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Beatles albums. And I thought that the second worst track, the second last track was the worst only twice out of 6. So that's science. You can't argue with that.
Science.
That's science. So yeah, I did that for the Beatles. What have you done on this? This topic?
I sort of went for some classics. I thought, I left you to do that. And so let's go Blonde on Blonde, Bob. The second last track is obviously Five Believers. And I read on Wikipedia, Dylan complained to the band that the song was very easy, man, and that he didn't want to spend much time on it. Within 4 takes, the recording was done. So from Bob's point of view, maybe it's like, well, let's just bash this one out. It's fine. And it is a blues, and it's copied from Memphis Minnie's Chauffeur Blues and sounds very familiar. If you've heard a song called Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, you know the riffs. But they rip into it, and it is pretty exciting. And I'm not going to be so brave as to suggest that any tracks on Blonde on Blonde could be described as weak. I'm not even going to go there. No. However, Pet Sounds, it's the actual instrumental Pet Sounds. I think that's fair enough.
Yep. Again, that's very definitely a B-side, isn't it? Remember in the old days, your B-side would just be an instrumental version. Do you remember that? Of a 7-inch single? Yeah.
So what else have I got? I was going to go into Stevie Wonder. I looked at Innovisions and saw Don't Worry About a Thing, and I thought, well, that's great. So that's that's fine. Rumours, Fleetwood Mac, Oh Daddy. Well, maybe. Could you describe anything on Rumours as weak? But further complicated by the fact that when you get to the re-released version, they put Silver Springs, which wasn't on the original, tacked it on at the end, and then which made Gold Dust Woman to be the second last track, and that's absolutely epic. So maybe Oh Daddy.
You've got to go with the originals. You have to go with the originals, don't you? Otherwise, if you're going with the what's it called? What they call the anniversary? Well, the Beatles albums. What do they call them? The very long ones. Can't remember. Special edition, whatever they call them.
Oh, yeah, no, that one.
That will be a Cavern Club bootleg demo, wouldn't it?
I guess the Fleetwood Mac one was, well, we've got CDs now, so we can do this.
Yeah, but, put a bit more on,
But I'm pretty, somebody can correct me, but I'm pretty sure they really wanted Silver Springs to be on there anyway. So it's great stuff. So we'll go for Oh Daddy. Maybe. And the last one I've got loads more, but Elton's Yellow Brick Road.
Right.
Social Disease is the second last track, and it's an autobiographical country song of self-loathing. Well, no, because the real stinker on the record is the Jamaica Jerk-Off, the sort of cod reggae track.
Yeah.
Terrible stuff. However, that is the second last track on the first LP. There you go.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Good stuff. Folks,
cool.
keep them coming in. I reckon we can make this one.
We did have one for the community. The aforementioned Billy Dodds said, well, look, on Human League's Dare, Love Action is the second last track.
Yeah.
So that's not weak at all.
No. And Don't You Want Me the last track on the album?
You're testing me now. Didn't write that down. Didn't write it down.
Let me have a look quickly.
Really is the weakest one, the theme from Get Carter, which they just, did a version of that. Being a cover version. It's not.
No, the weakest, the last track on Human League's Dare is Don't You Want Me, because the story I heard was Phil Oakey hated it and he didn't want that song out at all. He said, okay, put it on the end, like no one will hear it. And that went quite well for them, didn't it, in the end? 337.5 million streams on Spotify. So that would have made him £100.
A massive Christmas hit.
Yeah.
I remember the Top of the Pops. Yeah. Anyway, moving along. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good social media investigation there. But if you've got any more, any more thoughts folks. Spring to mind.
Yep.
And now we move on to what could be quite a large section. But people we've lost since the last episode. So we should mention a few. And let's just start with the lovely Olivia Newton-John, who left us. Had been ill for quite some time, I guess.
Yeah.
But, just generally still quite shocking,
I mean, I think she'd been battling cancer for years, hadn't she?
Yeah.
Years and years and years on and off. So, long journey for her. But she was still making music right up to the end.
Yeah.
Don't know if you've heard any of it. It's, still making decent music. So, very big reaction, really. Quite a big loss. Universally loved, someone you couldn't dislike, really, eh?
No.
Yeah.
One of the sort of gentle country rock of her first albums, through the sort of 70s TV years when every week she seemed to be a guest on Cliff Richard or Lulu or one of those shows. And then the massive sort of career boost, I guess. Well, I don't know, boost, but into the stratosphere really with Grease, and the subsequent early 80s stuff, physical, that kind of thing.
Xanadu, that kind of stuff,
took her into a whole different area.
Sad loss.
That's sad. One we marvelled at the output of this guy in association with the Two Hollands, Lamont Dozier, the Motown songwriter. We've put a playlist on YouTube of 37 Motown hits, and every single one is absolute solid gold. Yeah. I could have put about 60 up there that pretty much everybody would have known
easily.
And amazing. I did a couple of post Motown ones as well when they were operating under assumed names, because Berry Gordy's lawyers would have hunted them down for writing songs, not for Motown. But what a mighty back catalogue.
I mean, I looked at that. Well, I was listening to that playlist that you put together just yesterday. I was listening to it and I was thinking, if you don't like this, you don't like music, right? There's something wrong with you. This is absolute solid gold pop music. It's as good as it gets, that classic Motown stuff.
And sure enough, they twisted a few riffs around to make a different song out of essentially the same thing backwards or whatever, but who cares when it's so great?
I mean, we talked
stuff.
about that, and it reminded me of something that happened at Stax Records, a kind of rival, I guess, to Motown, Stax. And they had a couple of songs, Knock on Wood and In the Midnight Hour. I can't remember which was which, but they took the chord sequence and turned it reversed it. So you had Knock on Wood, and then you got In the Midnight Hour, same song. So it got us thinking, and I'm sure some of our nerds out there will know a few examples of songwriters that have plagiarised their own songs.
Yeah.
And, just rework the kind of Hit Factory mentality where you just take the same song and just do something to it and end up with a brand new one. And there must be good examples of that out there, if anyone can think of any.
Yeah, specifically their own songs, not...
Yeah, it's got to be their own, not just plagiarism. I mean, Stock Aitken Waterman is an example of that. And, I was listening to an old Primal Scream album, and I didn't realise that there's a track on that, which I can't remember what it's called, but that went on to be another Primal Scream track. It's like they sampled themselves for a track on Screamadelica from one of their very early tracks, which is a bit odd. But if anyone out there can think of any examples of self-plagiarism, let us know.
Yeah, we'll look that up.
Yeah,
see if we can find any.
I tried to look some up, but I didn't know what to Google. I didn't know what I didn't know what question to ask Google.
Yeah. But a couple more folks. Daryl Hunt of the Pogues, the bass player, left us. Was with the band when the only time I've ever seen them was great. It was in 1990, I think. I came on stage with Half and Off License in a wheelbarrow, and tore the place to bits. It was fantastic. So yeah, all round good chap, I think.
Yep.
And Raymond Briggs left us too. When I just looked at his oeuvre, and I'd forgotten about one or two things, not just the Snowman, of course.
Fungus the Bogeyman.
Fungus the Bogeyman, indeed. The anti-nuclear thing, the When the Wind Blows, which he followed up with the Tin Pot Foreign General and the Old Iron Woman, which is also a classic. And those are consecutive outputs, I think. So that was his hot period, I guess. Although he did many other things. Terrific stuff. He'll be playing those things for many years, and kids are going to be reading them. Yeah, classics. Yeah, I've certainly read some of those books with my kids. Yeah, they love them. Yeah.
There's a few more. Are you done with your RIPs? Because I think you missed a couple.
I've just I've got one, but if you go ahead with them, and I'll do mine at the end.
Well, I've got a list here. So Bernard Cribbins, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The legend. There's nothing Bernard couldn't do. Again, you couldn't not like Bernard Cribbins. I remember him most fondly from a series about fishing. Called A Passion for Angling. You can find it out there on YouTube. Was it A Passion for Angling, or was it Catching the Impossible? It was Catching the Impossible. My mistake. You'll find it on YouTube where he gets taken out fishing, and it's just beautiful. It's great stuff. But he did comedy, he did drama, he did a lot. I heard that he was the biggest selling artist. On EMI, Decca. Before the Beatles.
Yes, produced by
George Martin.
George Martin,
of course. So he sold a lot of records back in the early 60s. An all-round great, really. Bernard Cribbins, he'll be missed. A 70-year career. Not many like that around. Yeah. A couple more, which I'll gloss over, really. A British actor called David Warner, who some of you may know. Most famously, he had quite a big role in Titanic and The Omen. But look up David Warner on IMDb. If you don't know the name, you definitely will know the face. And wow, what a body of work he left behind. Just one of those faces. We did that episode some time ago about actors who you kind of know their face, but you don't know their name. He could have possibly made it into that one as well. He's been in so many things. Another important figure, really, in the entertainment world, Nichelle Nichols. Yeah. Uhuru from Star Trek. Groundbreaking as a female black actor. We lost her, but she'll be fondly remembered. And finally, Issey Miyake, the fashion designer, we also lost. So it's been a busy couple of weeks, hasn't it? Yeah. So
my RIP is from a while ago. He died on the 18th of July at the age of 93. And fans of crime novels will probably know, and if you don't, you should dive in there. Andrea Camilleri, who wrote books about Inspector Montalbano, an Italian cop in a small town who has various adventures throughout.
I've seen a few episodes of the show. It's great.
Yeah. There's the whole of the Montalbano TV series. I think is on Beamer Film, so you can watch it for now.
Subtitled Italian though, right?
It's all got subtitles. Yeah. But it's all there, and it's great stuff. I read his final book, Riccardino, which I alluded to last time, with the rather obvious statement that he wrote it before he died. But what I really meant was he wrote it in view of his upcoming demise. He first wrote it in 2005 and then tweaked it in 2016. Then gave it to his publisher and said, right, this is the one for when I'm gone. And that'll be the end of the series, the 28th and final book, as it turned out to be. So if you get the book, you get another murder for Montalbano to sort out. But the author himself puts in an appearance by occasionally phoning up the detective and talking about the way the case is going. So it's a bit kind of meta. I can't really say what goes on, but yeah, he phones up Montalbano and slags him off. And says, look, what are you doing, mate? you should really do this. And have you not considered this guy? It's like, okay, that gets a bit strange. But yeah, so I can't say what happens. But they're all good. The novels come with one or two attached tropes or jokes or whatever you want to call them. So Montalbano always makes sure he has a nice lunch. He has an enormous lunch. He always overeats lunch, and he always has to take a walk down the harbour and sit on a flat rock at the end of the harbour to look out at the sea for a few minutes to let his stomach recover from the massive lunch he's had. It's just full of these things. He has a long-suffering girlfriend. There are things in there that are always the same. One of the policemen in the office is called Cattarella, who I've read speaks bad Italian, and when translated into English, it comes out as a kind of terrible New York Italian. That's how they managed to translate the rather uneducated Cattarella's bad Italian. So it comes out as New York Italian, a dialect. It isn't really a dialect of the village, of the town that these guys are in. So Cattarella's always talking about going to see someone personally in poison and all that kind of stuff. So he's talking this New York dialect when they're just all the rest of the guys have just been translated into plain English, which just puts a kind of weird kind of spin in it. He wrote the first book at the age of 57. So there you go, folks. So
there's hope for all of us.
He was a theatre and TV director, and he wrote scripts. But he wrote his first novel when he was 57.
Wow.
Female characters in it are quite strong. His long-suffering girlfriend, Livia, he has a friend called Ingrid who occasionally winds Livia up a little bit because she's so supportive of Inspector Montalbano. They kind of criticise ineptitude in power as well. A lot of Montalbano's superiors are not the greatest chaps. They've obviously been promoted beyond their capabilities. So there's another kind of jovial thing you can look at. There are so many of them. There are 28 books. You could dip into them and get something out of every one. They all read standalone. Riccardino is probably the last one. Is probably the weirdest one because of this sort of intervention by the author himself. Yeah.
Oh, I'll put them on my list. I've never read any of those.
Yeah, they're all. It's all easy reading.
Yeah. Holiday reading, eh?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. All right. That's the RIP's done. That's not nice. Not nice topic to deliver, is it? On a more cheerful note, so only murders in the building update. Well, we're nearly there. We're nearly at the end of the second series, and we think we know who the murderer is. Okay. might be too obvious. So yeah, love it, absolutely loving it. But we're nearly at the end now. A couple more episodes to go. I discovered a new TV show the other day. Well, it's not new; it's old, but it's just being shown over here. It's from 2021, and it's called Along for the Ride with David O'Doherty. Have you seen this? So you know David O'Doherty, the Irish,
I know the man.
Yeah, the Irish comedian, very funny guy. He's apparently some keen cyclist. So it's pretty simple format. And another celeb goes along with him, and they go on a bike ride. You know, in the UK. And I've only seen one episode. I think it's the 4th episode in the series, and they had Joe Wilkinson along with him. And they went up on a nice ride around Suffolk, around the countryside around Suffolk. And yeah, really nice. One of those, you know, British are quite good at shows like that, aren't they? It's just, you know, just cruising along, just, you know, enjoying the British summertime. And yeah, made me quite homesick. Seeing all that lovely scenery around there. But yeah, I'm going to try and catch up. I've only seen one episode, but I'll try and catch up on the others. I don't know how many there are. But, yeah, that was quite nice to watch. It's on All 4 or Channel 4, whatever it's called these days. It's on that if you want to watch it.
Cool. Sounds good. There was one during lockdown, I think the first lockdown, Ed Byrne did one of his own things, and he only got around to doing about 3 or 4 of them, but he basically went for walks up hills.
Yeah, I saw 1 or 2 of them.
Took a comedian with him. So they're worth tracking down as well. They're pretty good stuff. Yeah, cool. And TV-wise, I did mention last time around Sherwood. Anyone into that kind of thing should watch it. It goes without saying. I'm going to keep it fairly short. But Robert Glenister, David Morrissey, Leslie Manville, Leslie Duncan, Joanne Froggatt, Alan Armstrong, and I could go on. The quality of British acting talent, some of whom only last or are in 1 episode. Crikey. It's all great stuff. It's really great stuff. There's one also aspect of it that I hesitate to say, but I'm going to say it. It's a very mild spoiler. As you remember Columbo from the the American cop show from the 70s. Yep. People often forget that Columbo started off with the crime, and then subsequent the rest of the episode is devoted to him finding out how it happened. Well, this is a bit like that. It's fairly obvious who it is.
Right, okay.
But how are they going to get him? That's the thing.
Okay. Yeah, good.
It's one of those. So, Piley.
Yeah, that's definitely next on my to watch list. I must watch that. Yeah, that looks very good. Yeah, cool. Good stuff. Okay. That's me done all my list, ticked all my boxes for this episode.
Also me.
So I reckon
we're done.
We'll get out of here, shall we?
Yeah.
Let these people get back to their lives. So thank you for listening, everyone. You know how to get in touch. We've learned how to do new things on Instagram, by the way, Reels. We've learned how to do that. So
now you're going to suffer the Reels.
Yeah, we've got them.
We're going to do it.
Yeah.
But you have to like and subscribe and whatever the other things is, retweet and toot and do all those things.
Toot and holler, all that stuff.
Some of you did do those things, which was good. But give us a bit of social reach by
give us a leg up.
Sending it to your friends and annoying the hell out of them.
That's right. Yeah, send it to your enemies as well.
Yeah, send it to them too.
Right. Okay. I think we'll leave it there then. Say goodbye, Captain.
Goodbye, Captain.
See you later, folks. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Only a Podcast. If you would like to get in touch and share your feedback and ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Go to onlyapodcast.com, or you can find us at Only a Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or via our Facebook page. Remember, it's only a podcast.